See, we have a team of reporters covering every angle of the right-to-work controversy, but we're going to begin with 7 Action News reporter Jim Kirshner. He's live in Lansing tonight. And Jim, we're just hours away from round 2 of protests at the Capitol, so what's going on there right now?
Carolyn, we haven't seen any protesters here yet tonight. We have seen a lot of state police, but there was an attempt at a meeting of the minds this morning. Top Democratic leaders met with the governor, not here in Lansing, actually down in Detroit. They were in a warm room, but that warmth didn't last very long. The Democrats were asking for a delay for the showdown here in Lansing tomorrow morning. They are not going to get that.
It's going to be a major contentious issue for the next foreseeable future unless the governor takes the lead and cools this situation off.
Governor Rick Snyder, for the first 2 years that this non-politician was in office, he waved off getting into this fight with union labor. And while he did meet face-to-face with the top Democrats, he's waving off their calls today for a delay and for a veto.
I listened to what was said, and I appreciate that.
On your perspective, though, has anything changed, or you're still moving forward?
Well, we're still moving forward, but I appreciate what they said, and I listened to what they said carefully.
And right outside his Detroit office, the protest started on the eve of the Lansing showdown over right to work. People in Michigan would have a right to choose whether to join a union in their workplace. For decades, Michigan has been a closed shop state. It's a partisan battle, putting business against labor, 2 long-time bare-knuckle opponents in politics.
And I pointed out to the governor that he does not want this to be a part of his legacy as having been the man that forced so much divisiveness on the people of this state when he could have prevented it.
It is on you in that regard.
Yeah, but if it hadn't happened, what would happen is we'd continue to have both sides going at right to work, going back and forth, and at some point we'd end up in this situation most likely anyway.
So how do you respond to, say, Rick Snyder's no longer a moderate, he's now a radical Republican?
I've never lived by labels, and the only label I live by is Michigander.
Now, this is a bitter battle that actually started earlier this year, and it's an issue you decided on the November ballot. Proposition 2, how that's driving this current debate, coming up next hour at 6. Stephen, Carolyn?
Yeah, obviously, Jim, this is a big issue right here. President Obama was in town today to talk about the fiscal cliff, but he could not ignore right to work.
No, in fact, President Obama won re-election in part because of organized labor and their support. They expected him to say something, and he did briefly. Check it out.
What we shouldn't do, I just got to say this, what we shouldn't be doing is trying to take away your rights to bargain for better wages or working conditions. We shouldn't be doing that.
Now, I can tell you, here's how the showdown here in Lansing plays out tomorrow morning. 2 of these bills will be voted on here by the State House, and we expect the protests to be here well before that. Stephen, Carol.